The other potential driver is the first-party title generation. Because in the past, as you all know, we wanted to popularize console. And the title was something, and the first-party title main purpose was to make the hardware or the console popular, right? It is true, right? But there's a synergy to it. So if we have a strong first-party content, not only with our console, but also other platforms like computers, and the first-party can be grown with multi-platforms, and that can help operating profit to improve. So that's another one that we want to practically work on. I personally think there are opportunities out there for improvement of margin. So I would like to go aggressive on improving our margin performance.
I actually am impressed by Forza Horizon 5. I mean, I say I'm impressed. That game franchise never ceases to surprise me, actually. It is the hero title. If you discount Bethesda and Activision, it's just the king on Xbox. And obviously now it's on PlayStation, still in the top 5, creeping up in the annual chart as well. That's Xbox's multi-platform strategy really, paying off. We've seen like CFEs doing really well initially on PlayStation as well. So, and this one seems to have some real legs. It feels like a proper fit for the, racing games are popular on all franchises, but on all platforms. But it is different to the Gran Turismo as well as an IP. I have to caveat this. My brother works for Playground Games, so I'm obviously very pleased to see a Playground Games title do very well in the charts. But although he's working on Fable, but it seems to have done very well. It seems to show that strategy is working.
Yeah, we've been seeing this now for about a year or so now, where these, no matter who makes them, the cross-platform ports are generally, every month you're seeing some new game pop up that's been gone for a while. And you're like, well, how'd that happen? Well, it came out on another platform. You look at Stellar Blade at number 5 on the month, came out on PC, was 185th on the main chart, jumped to 5th because of the PC release. So there's these opportunities for everyone, to bring their content to more players. I mean, people who buy a hardware system these days, they're doing it because of the ecosystem, because of their friends list. Like, you're not going to get people to buy or transition boxes because of exclusives anymore. That's just, we're way beyond that point. Like, people are entrenched into their systems, and, bringing the content to them is the only way to win.
Boy, oh boy. Wow. First of all, I'm being rude. What's going on, people? Hope you're having a great day today. I've been on social media for about the past 30 minutes or so, and it's been a combination of X and YouTube. And man, let me tell you something. There are people out here who are still in denial about PlayStation's path forward, their new path forward when it comes to exclusive games, which is they're basically about to put that business model as they run it today in the past. They're about to put it in the back. They're about to move on. And I've already told you that there is no way in hell that I believe that they're going to be slow about it. Now, the most interesting thing I find, which I must admit I'm not shocked by some of these people, I told you guys in another video how you have these influencers out here who are very much invested in the console wars. Now, what makes these people interesting, of course, you have the usual suspect, the people that some of you guys may like to refer to as the ponies. So we expect this sort of thing out of them, though most of them seem to fully recognize what's happening. They're looking at the document. They're acknowledging that that's what the document looks like it's saying. Look, it's possible that maybe we're taking the document out of context. Personally, I don't believe so. I believe in if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. That looks like a duck. It looks like they're hiring somebody to oversee the path going forward to port their games over to other platforms, and Xbox was listed as one of those platforms. That's what it looked like. It's a job description. They're communicating to people about what they want them to do, and I just don't think that they would miscommunicate like that. I don't think that they would say something in the document and leave it to the point where it could be easily misinterpreted. So you have Xbox influencers out here, one of which I was listening to today. I'm not going to say his name. A lot of you may actually like him, especially if you're an Xbox fan and you follow Xbox influencers. And I'm not one to intentionally antagonize anybody, but his whole shtick is to complain about Xbox. Yeah, he mostly says positive things about him, but he also takes advantage of a lot of negative news about Xbox, even sometimes creating negative news about Xbox. In other words, he makes these videos where he's trying to complain, but he's complaining from a stance of caring. You know, when the truth of the matter is that he's just taking advantage of the fact that, like Dirk Griggity said, he did a video, negative Xbox videos get great reviews. You know, Dreamcast guy, he admitted, he said, hey, man, people keep asking me, why am I leaning in so much on these negative Xbox views? Look at these views. He admitted that. So it is true. Negative Xbox news does get, I made a video once and I put up a thumbnail. It's a pretty old video. You'd have to scroll pretty far back, where I put up a thumbnail making it seem like, yeah, I did it on purpose. You call me dirty or whatever. I wanted to know if it was true. I wanted to know if I could get more engagement, if people thought that I was about to skull drag Xbox. So I made a thumbnail. In fact, no, I did. I changed the thumbnail because there was a lot of people who were like, that thumbnail is misleading. You know, you shouldn't do that and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, hey, I can't help it if you're coming in here ready to basically talk trash about another platform and engage in some console wars, because while I did make the thumbnail so that you may think that, I did not make the thumbnail where it was like, for sure you would look at it and know that that's what I was going to do. I kind of left a question there in the thumbnail. And I did get a lot of people who clicked on the video to look at it who were looking forward to that. And they were upset when they found out that that is not what I was going to do in the video. So basically, ever since Xbox started putting games on other platforms, every time they would put a game on PlayStation, he would complain about it as though he was shocked. Each time that, even though it was already clear that that's what they were going to do going forward, he would pretend like he was shocked. And he was one of the people who was also going around faking like they believed when Phil Spencer said just 4 games, that he meant just 4 games forever. And I was even going down in his comment section and basically laughing at the idea that he would actually believe something like that. I was like, dude, he's talking about just 4 games. That's what they're planning to put on the PlayStation at that point. That's what they have planned immediately to put on the PlayStation. 4 games. He did not expound on anything that would lead you to believe that it would just be 4 games forever. That is not what he said. And he wasn't the only one that was doing it. And I was going into other comment sections of other influencers who were doing the exact same thing. And basically what they were doing, they were setting it up so that when the inevitable happened, and they did actually put games on other platforms, other games besides the 4 onto the PlayStation, then they could set it up like, wow, okay, look, we told you, man, we're like, we're Nostradamus, man. We can look into the future and tell what's going to happen. See, we had it right. Click on the video, view the video, like, share, and subscribe. Get in here. Let's talk about it. Comment down in the comment section. Help me get in. Help me ride this algorithm. And one of his favorite arguments has always been, we don't get anything in exchange for putting our games on PlayStation. That was always one of his arguments. In other words, like, Xbox is weak. Xbox is weak. Xbox is stupid. Like, Xbox is just doing the wrong thing. We're not getting anything in exchange for putting our games on PlayStation. When the truth of the matter is, man, there are meetings that take place between these companies that we don't know about, and we'll probably never know about it until everyone involved is retired and they're making some documentary looking back on it or something like that. But he doesn't know that what they're talking about. Just because you see Xbox doing something first, that doesn't mean, because the Xbox is known to be the first to do different things, and especially when it comes to innovations and making different moves in the industry And, sometimes they catch bullets because of it. And then later on find out that it was actually a great idea and it's something that everybody is doing. So now he's trying to act like he can't read the obvious tea leaves. I mean, you have Helldivers 2 that's coming onto the Xbox. We have this new document that's out there in the ether for everybody to read, where clearly they're trying to hire someone to lead a project, to port more games to a list of different platforms, and Xbox was listed as one of them. Again, if they weren't going to actually work with Xbox to put games on Xbox, they don't need to list Xbox. If all they were going to do is just port games to PC, because Xbox is going to be the next one is going to be a PC. So all you need to do is just port the games to PC and then leave it up to Xbox to figure out how they're going to arrange for their customers to get access to those games. But they're actually going to be working with Xbox. So we have the document. We have the fact that Helldivers 2 is coming to the Xbox. And this guy is supposed to be an Xbox influencer, and he's going around saying just live service games. He's going around doing that. And he's one of these people wonder why he gets clipped by ponies, why they take his talking points and use them in his arguments. And by the way, he's not the only one that does this. He's just the only one that I was just listening to a few minutes ago. There's a few of them that do this, and they've been doing it for a long time. But this guy does it more than most of them. I mean, he is really at first, when they first started doing it, he was making a video and bringing the topic up almost like every day. And then it was like 2 or 3 days a week. Now it's like 2 or 3 days every month. People need to remember the document that was released in that PlayStation leak that took place not too long after the APK deal was finalized. And they talked about how concerned they were that they were behind Xbox in certain aspects of the industry, certain things that Xbox was doing. And basically, in short, they were just kind of wondering why they aren't doing it. And to be honest, knowing PlayStation and their hubris, they probably were wondering why they weren't doing it first. So PlayStation already feels like they're kind of, behind a little bit. So they're not going to sit here and sit up and watch Xbox make all this money, put in their games, even on their platform, topping their charts. And they're sitting here on all these IPs that aren't making any money. They're to the point now where they've cut all these different, and by the way, for those of you who keep talking about live service games, except for maybe 1 or 2, they've already gotten rid of most of their live service games. They've canceled them. They don't need to hire anybody. They're not going to hire anybody to remake live service games or to build live service games. They just cut in that department. So they're certainly not about to rebuild it. So Xbox was not mentioned in this latest document because of of live service games. That's just absolutely ridiculous. So this guy and guys like him, they really need to figure out what else they're going to do with their channel, man. Look, if you can't come up with some creative way to do something with your channel, besides talking about subjects that are hot button topics so that you can get people to click on your videos, then maybe you need to get a part-time job or something, man. Stay on YouTube, make the money you can, being honest, and not trying to make videos just so you can. I mean, it's okay, to want clicks. Yeah, you want clicks, but man, you have to draw a line on everything. We all want to make money. But at the same time, we have a line drawn. There's certain things that decent people aren't going to do to make that money. And to me, I just think it's a little bit scummy when you are out here and you're intentionally trying to make money off of playing with people's emotions. But enough on that particular topic, because actually it's depressing even talking about it a little bit. So I want to move on to something else. The thing I want to talk about is, now I want to be clear. I think PlayStation is going to be very successful if they do this thing right, making this move. I do think that they're going to make money, but there is a concern because according to several studies, now I have here one by YouGov and the other one by Forbes magazine. These studies reveal that approximately half of all Xbox owners already own a PlayStation. So the question for me is, though the other half, that's a lot of people who never owned a PlayStation or don't currently own one, or maybe the last time they owned one, it was a few generations ago. I don't know. But I've mentioned in one of my videos that I believe that a lot of people who are really interested in playing PlayStation games have already played them. If they really just wanted to play them that bad, they've already played those games because they own multiple consoles. The Forbes study found that 34% of gamers in general own multi-platforms. And the YouGov study found that almost half of Xbox owners, specifically Xbox owners, already own a PlayStation. So basically when PlayStation comes out here, they will basically be selling those games to that other half. Now, I have always owned multiple platforms. I have always owned a PlayStation and an Xbox since their existence. When the PlayStation 5 first came out, I bought it, and I don't have it now. Not getting into that, but I don't have it now. I ended up sort of actually giving it away. I didn't sell it. I actually gave it away. My plan was to get the PlayStation, the one that with the Spider-Man theme on. I was going to get that one. And then some things happened, some decisions that PlayStation made, and it just made it where I was no longer interested in being a part of that ecosystem. And plus, they were porting games over to the PC, so I was all good. But everyone that I've known all my gaming life have always owned multiple platforms. I personally don't know anybody who I know a couple of people who are like very casual. Like I have a close friend who's really not a big gamer. He owns the PlayStation 4 for one single reason. Him and his sons are huge baseball fans, and they play baseball. That's it. They don't play anything else. They just play baseball and nothing else. His son doesn't play anything else. That's it. And I don't even know how often they play that. So, but people that I know that really game, like gaming hobbyists like me, I don't know anybody that just owns one platform. And of the people that I do know that own one platform, that platform is PC. And PlayStation is already porting games to PC. In fact, the window, that old 2-year window is closing in more typically to be 1 year and sometimes a matter of a few months. In fact, there's one game that they did day one. I can't think of the name of that game. It's not a traditional game. And that was the talking point that a lot of people was using. They were like, oh man, that doesn't count and all that. I forget the name of that game. I'm going to stop thinking about it because it's going to torment me. But anyway, there's been one game that they have ported to the PC day one. And I think the Switch was the only one that they ported the Lego game to day one. Or maybe that was PC as well. I'm not really sure. I'm not really a big Lego person. But anyway, that 2-year window has basically turned into, really, if you want to include all genres of games, it's turned into day one releases. So yeah, there's that. So I'm kind of thinking that the best thing that Xbox can do that I can think, I'm not a big business person, but I'm thinking that when they do this, they need to prepare. They need to be prepared. Don't just drop games, because PlayStation can have a high sense of hubris, man. I could see them. I don't think this is what they're going to do, but if anybody would do something like this, it would be PlayStation. I could see them dropping games as they are on the Xbox. Like, yeah, you just better be glad you got it. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they need to be prepared to spend some money to now we know games like The Last of Us and The Last God of War and all of that, if they do that, that's already ready to go. There's really not much that you need to do with that. But I'm thinking that they're going to want to go back a little bit further than those games. They're going to want to bring some new older IPs into the situation, and they're going to need to touch those games up, because those old games can play awfully. Probably about 2 years ago, I tried to play the old Xbox game Crimson Skies from the original Xbox, and oh boy, I was so looking forward to playing that game. I loved that game, and man, was it horrible. It was horrible, man. Oh, I couldn't believe I had to stop playing it. it was giving me such a headache. So if they're going to reach deep into their library and they're going to go back a few generations, they're definitely going to need to touch those games up. Now, maybe they've already done this. Another thing, and you really need to sit down for this one, some of you, because I'm really about to blow you back. You may want to make sure a soft landing is available behind you, because some of you might fall back when I say this. And keep in mind, I'm just talking about the possibility. I'm talking about forgetting all the console war stuff, forgetting all the nonsense. You know, like Hiroke Totoki said, you know, when he first came in, he saw a bunch of people who were extremely talented, but they didn't know how to make money. They didn't know anything about business. They was just straight ponies. It was a bunch of ponies in there running the company. But just straight up business, they need to pick a few of their older titles, touch them up a little bit, and see how much they can get as far as like a Game Pass bag. Just a company like PlayStation, they could get some millions. You know, like some companies I've heard got a couple of 100,000, which were good for them because they were small developers. A company like PlayStation, I know they probably could get about like 4 or 5 million a pop, probably. On the lower end, they could get maybe 2 or 3 million, depending on what the game is and how much they've updated it or whatever. But, and keep in mind too, guys, I'm talking about games that's just sitting there. Games that they have not made, they're not making any money off of these games. And they're looking at them thinking, you know, we don't want to touch them up to the point where we're going to put them back out on the market for sale for a price that would be worth us putting them back on the market for. In other words, the only way we could charge $60, $70, $80 for it is if we put, you know, we bring it like really up to date, damn near remaster these games. You know, there are games out there that they simply are never going to want to do that. They're not going to want to invest that kind of money in those games. But I say for those type of games, put a few million into them, tweak them, you know, or do whatever you got to do to tweak the games and just bring them up to date to the point where they're playable. You know, you don't even have to make them beautiful, just make them playable. Because like I said, the Crimson Skies, guys, that game just wasn't even playable, man. If it just would have been playable, I could have dealt with the visuals. So I'm saying they could take a few games like that, very old PlayStation games, make them playable, and see if they can toss those games into Game Pass and see what kind of bag they could get for them. You know, this may have been something that's already been negotiated. You know, who knows? So, like I said, people just need to get used to the fact that things are changing, and the console wars is over. It's dead. There are people who are still holding on to remnants of it because, like I said, they make their living off of it. They get a lot of their following on social media based on it. They do follow a business model where they do like to follow the clickbaity stuff, and you know, so that is what it is. That's not going away anytime soon. But people who engage in that are going to begin to look more and more foolish. Now, when it comes to pricing, and this is really what's going to tick a lot of PlayStation fans off, PlayStation needs to come correct. They need to come similar to how they come on the PC. And yeah, they do need to add some extras just like they do on the PC, because when they port games over to the PC, it usually comes with something extra, some of the DLC that was with the game. Even if they don't give you all of it, they normally, like I think all of the Spider-Man games, they gave everything, I believe. I know when last time I bought a Spider, it came with all of the costumes. I didn't have to do anything to open them. But that's typically what they do, right? So they're going to need to do that. So definitely pricing is everything. I got to tell you guys, I know people were laughing at PlayStation gamers, but I believe a lot of those people who were paying that amount of money, they just aren't a part of the console wars. But I don't believe you're going to have a lot of success bringing old games. I don't care how much you touch them up, bringing old games over to Xbox and charging $70 for them. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap the video up right there. This is a very interesting topic. I could talk about it forever, but we're going to have to wrap it up here. But hey, guys, look, I look forward to hearing from you guys and seeing what you think, especially if you're an Xbox owner. Would you be willing? Have you not played the PlayStation games yet? Have you not had access to them? And if you haven't had access to them, Are you interested in playing them? Which ones are you interested in playing? How much money? I mean, what is your top dollar? For example, we'll say A Last of Us, because that game really isn't that old, and they've remastered the hell out of it. So, and I think I think each remaster is also for the console as well, I believe. So you're going to be getting the latest one, but I'm kind of thinking that if they come with The Last of Us, I think they're going to come with the first one. So I think that one also received an update. It also got remastered. I think you're also going to get, if you do get a God of War, it's going to be the first one. Now, I don't know if they remastered that. I don't know. But I know I have it on PC, so that's sort of a remaster. But I don't know if they did that on console. But if they come with the first Last of Us, for example, and they come with the first God of War and they remastered them, how much would you be willing to pay for them? Would you be willing to pay $50 for them? Would you be willing to pay 60? Are there caveats for each of those price ranges? Would they have to have the skins and all of that with them, or weapons or outfits or whatever they come with? Just talk to me. Let me know where you stand. And if you are like me, you're on PC, and I'm telling you, I'm not buying any of that because I've already played all of it, so I'm not interested in it. But like for example, Boom, the guy who runs the channel, the guy Boomstick, he runs the channel. He says that any PlayStation game that comes to Xbox, he would purchase it just because of the novelty of it and just to support the fact that it's coming to Xbox. So if you're on PC or if you're already on Xbox but you own a PlayStation, would you do the same thing? Anyway, guys, talk to me down in the comment section, and as usual, stay safe.